hits the last corner, but it feels as if he would have liked to be back on the throttle a bit earlier there, out of the last turn. Is that going to be better than what Linus has been doing? No. Less than a 10th behind, and I think Linus is improving already again. He comes over the line, is expecting 1 or 2 tenths of improvement. Yes, he goes for a 34.8. So Robert coming out the final corner with, again, a purple first and purple second sector, but at least some small mistake in the third one. And it's a significant improvement. 34.5 is so good. They get into T1 in the order that they were in. It looked as if Zillard was kind of peeking into there against Thomas, but he doesn't try to do anything. Frank on the outside now to Zillard, but leaves so much space that he just lets Vamos by almost for free. Frank going off the track there. And as they go into the next corner, Frank is still ahead of Vamos. That looked a bit tricky. So it's Robert, Linus, Thomas, Zillard, Frank, Vamos and Tibor. Zillard, I think there was on the grass, has a very bad exit now as Frank tries to go for a move. And see it from Vamos' point of view, and Frank is ahead of Zillard. But in this case he did it very, very nicely. Oh, and again, as I commentator's curse, as I say that, he takes too much speed into one of the fast right-handers and is immediately all the way on the back as Vamos almost crashes into Zillard, if I'm not mistaken. Robert driving away, not quite. It looks as if Linus is just as, if not very slightly faster, but can he make a move? Zillard under a little more pressure, but he does have a couple second gap right now to Tibor, who's going to try to make that back up throughout the race. But Zillard 4 tenths fast on his last lap. 34.233 and 34.228. That's insane. Generally speaking, you have an advantage if you're behind. A full second is probably a bit too much for Linus to grab a significant toe. But also on this track, the advantage is obviously minimal there. A lot of corners and very little straight line. But if Linus can just get a little bit closer, then he will get a slight advantage. The last lap, I didn't even talk about that. It was just 12 thousandths of a second of difference between the two again. And then this one, a tenth of a difference. And that's only because Robert did purple. Oh, hits the inside of the car and almost spins there as he tries to go back on the throttle completely off the track. Yeah, brown flag moment. He'll have some time between the races to change pants though. Robert 34.4 and Linus also 34.4. You just don't make up any time there anymore. As I said, this would require a major mistake from Robert now. Now towards the end of the race, it feels as if there was actually more for Linus. He can go very slightly faster. Robert goes over the line, amazing P1, absolutely deserved. Manages to be almost 3 seconds ahead of Linus, who also drove so well. That one mistake where it looked as if he almost spun, but managed to stay on track and still keeping a huge gap over all the other drivers. Thomas coming back in a respectable P3, 33 seconds ahead of Zillard. The 35.2. Zillard 36.8, solid improvement. And that was already a good lap, 34.7. He was complaining about the hard tires and a lot of understeer. Yes, with the setup on these cars, you have to make them turn in, both with the setup and with the with your driving style. We shared a setup in the Discord server that I made that I think is pretty good. Learning how to properly make this car turn in is something all the drivers have to do. It says outlap there in the top, but I'm pretty sure this isn't his outlap. I think his last lap was his outlap, so this is his first actual sector now of the session. And immediately purple, 28.8. Is he already gonna be ahead of Linus with this lap? He is 34.5, so is equaling the pole time from last race. And then after the second sector, that wasn't even a personal best for Linus, he is 1.6 hundredths behind Robert's current provisional pole lap. So let's stay on him. I think both of these corners are struggling a little bit on the exit here, going fully on the grass, and that's the lap gone away again. And with a not even personal best second sector, but I think still a good one, is Linus going to improve? He improves, and he is 800ths away from Robert right now. So this is his final attempt as he hits the curb, and T1 is therefore a bit late on the throttle. And Robert is actually going slightly faster again. Can he improve on both his current provisional pole and his last pole lap from last race? No, he can't. Not a perfect last sector. It's not an improvement. So Robert is on pole again, very, very strong. T-Bot barely ahead of Frank. We watch at Zilla driving, however, he is not on a personal best. Oh, he does actually improve very slightly, very good last sector. And they go 3 wide there in the rear. Is it going to be problematic? It looks as if they're managing it well. Linus very close here in T2 behind Robert, but not quite able to make a move as Robert kind of closed the door on him. So it's Robert, Linus, Zillard, Thomas already ahead of Frank and Tibor. So barely lost anything as he goes fully over the grass, but is far enough ahead so he doesn't have to worry about losing position, I think. Linus 0.6, 0.5 away, this time has to ensure that he doesn't lose Robert, he doesn't lose this advantage that he gets on both the main and the back straight, being at least slightly in the tow. Oh, as we looked away, Linus dropped behind Zillard, and then he cuts here so much. Oh, he got a slowdown penalty for the cut, and then he immediately takes it, and effectively has to let Zillard back by. I'm sure that he'll get that position back, but that costs too much time, with Linus and Robert being basically tight on pace. Thomas now directly behind Linus in the back, and as we talked about it earlier, if Thomas hadn't started from the back, then he would have been a couple seconds ahead now, and potentially had the chance, and Linus hits Zillard. Zillard going on the grass and going back on the track, luckily safely. It didn't look like that bad of a hit, but in the middle of the corner, I suppose Zillard then just lost control of the car. Let's look at that again. Here in the middle of that corner, Zillard just brakes a bit early, and Linus tries to take that line where you come further from the outside, take more speed into it, and hit the apex later, which is the correct line, but of course Linus not allowed to just run into the back of Zillard. He'll really have to get going. His last lap was so good, 3.5 tenths faster than Robert, that if he keeps up that pace, he might actually go back to the back of Robert. But we know Robert is going to go faster again as well. And then Tibor made an overtake on Frank. We can look at that really quickly. And actually, as we go onto them, it already happens. And I think Frank is just going to make a mistake here as he enters this corner too fast, misses the apex, and then goes onto the gravel and effectively gives Tibor the position. Is Linus catching up? No, I don't think so. Last lap was Robert was 4 tenths faster, and Thomas almost loses the car here in the exit. And Robert made a major mistake, I think. Linus is now right at the back of him again. We'll look at that really quickly. Let's go on board with Robert here in the replay. And I think he will go out the outside. Oh no, he had a cut penalty. And he tries to take it by slowing down under a target speed. That's the alternative way of taking these automatic cut penalties that the game gives you. But he doesn't do it decisively enough, so he is waiting a little bit for it to disappear, then slows down a little more and then gets back up to speed. So he arguably loses a bit more time there than he absolutely had to. So over the line, I think this lap was significantly better from Robert than what Linus did. Yeah, Robert deciding to go for purple laps now that he has to again. Dips a wheel on the grass, just drifts through it, cuts nicely over the inside, doesn't run danger of going off track on the outside. Nice. And to rub salt in the wound, Linus actually made a significantly worse mistake on the same lap that we didn't see. 1.7 seconds off in the last lap. Robert's lap was just fine. Ew, that didn't sound good. That was revving a little bit too high. I think Linus trying out some things here, trying to be a bit more aggressive with the car, and generally speaking that doesn't work as he drifts through this corner and spins and is in the gravel. Now he has to make sure that he rejoins safely as Thomas is going to arrive. But they're fine. Thomas far enough in the back. Yeah, big mistake from Linus. I think he's trying too much. He's trying to do too much. Whenever we look at Robert's onboards, it seems so relaxed. And he's finding the time doing that. So there were 1 or 2 laps before this where Thomas was actually a bit faster than Linus, but on average Linus should easily be able to stay in front as Linus goes over the gravel again. This is actually Thomas' opportunity, but he doesn't go for it. I know that these two drive together. Maybe Thomas doesn't want to ruin Linus' race. Linus bad exit there as Thomas goes past. I'm not sure if that was intended or not. Oh, Linus has a penalty again. He wins another race, back-to-back race wins.